Senior superpowers. I've been interested in this for a long time. Did some research quite a few years ago that changed my life. Well, there was something even before that changed my life, and that was working in a hospital with a very large number of dying people for 11 years. Many of them were old, and I learned from them. But then I went out and did some research with people over age 80. And I spent a summer interviewing them all, 30 or 40, in great depth, 6 hours each, spaced over time. We talked about everything possible. It was confidential as to their names and so on. My goodness, I thought they were the age I am now, and I was a lot younger than I am now. And I was so moved by that it's been with me for the rest of my life. So I continued an informal study of aging. And now that I am aged myself and have an opportunity to work with a group of people whose average age is 69, although there are some young people here who would like to be old someday, I assume, this is worthwhile for everybody. These have been very troubled times. We are elders. When I say we, I know that everybody is. But we are elders, and we have a role in this community. And we have special gifts. There is science on this. This isn't just sweet poetry. There are things that old people can do that young people cannot. But first, I want to tell you what a psychiatrist is as opposed to a psychologist. You know the difference? Yeah, that's not it. It's $200,000 a year. And people say, well, psychologists can't give medication. That's not true in a few states and in the military and so on, but psychiatrists tend to give medication. But the real answer is that psychiatrists have answers. Important answers that we need to hear. This is the problem, this is what you do about it. That's the medical model, oversimplified. Psychologists, what do we got? Questions. Lots and lots of questions. Anyway, my question is the same as Carl Samuels, who stood on this stage about a year and a half ago and had us working in small groups and saying, what can you do better today than when you were 25? We filled pages. We filled pages answering that question. And it was a very important question for me. I'm a lot better at some things I'm not as good at, but I'm a lot better at some things, and so are you. And some of them are the most important things that make an elder special in society. Wisdom. Wisdom, so many definitions. Here's one. The ability to think and act using knowledge, experience, understanding, common sense, and compassion. Like that. But let me talk about just a little bit about my days as a hospital chaplain for 11 years. I never, ever heard anybody say, and I didn't hear that people over 80 say any of these things either. I wish I had spent more time at the office. I wish I hadn't spent so much time with my family. I wish I'd watched more TV series. I wish I'd conformed more to others' expectations. Anybody have that wish? I wish I hadn't given so much to charity. I wish I'd done less volunteer work. I wish I'd skipped the adventures. Nobody ever said any of those things. So, here's some general common knowledge that psychologists think is right through observation and a little bit of research. Older people are happier with their circumstances. Apart from illness and so on, yes. We have broader perspectives based on our experiences. Bigger picture. We look at the world through a wide-angle lens, not a telephoto. We have better coping mechanisms and social skills. especially true for expats, of course. The highest rate of volunteer work by age, in the United States anyway, is over 65. We constitute a very large percentage of people doing volunteer work. Senior Corps of Retired Executives is one national example. Was involved with a clinic, and we were doing okay, but we wanted a bigger outreach, and we wanted better programs, and so on. So we called in the Senior Corps of Retired Executives. And these three old guys came in, they looked old to me at the time. And they sat there, suits and ties, they looked great. And they asked us a lot of questions. And then they came back and had very, very focused questions. And none of them knew anything about running a clinic. But they knew a lot about life, about business, about relationships, and they were thinking of things we weren't thinking of. That was another powerful experience I had. We look at the bigger picture for the entire experience. We have better emotional control usually, and overall deeper and longer relationships. And we're more like, there's a lot of science in this last one. We're more likely to find multiple solutions to problems. Here's some science. I dug around in scientific articles and just kind of pulled these out. Balance. Emotions and cognitions, thoughts and feelings. We seem to be able to keep those in balance. Okay? We're less likely to make emotional decisions. We're more likely to use our feelings and emotions in good and helpful ways. Self-care and care for others. We tend to be better at that, both in terms of insight and in terms of action. We know how to balance risk and reward. Okay. Here's a little more. Resolving social conflicts. Respecting the differences in people's value systems. I mean, can you talk to a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter? You probably can. You might not be able to if you were to engage. Ability to compromise. We tend to be pretty good at that about most things. Using more complex reasoning from multiple points of view. Another definition of wisdom is knowing what's important and what's not. And that applies to all of it. Finally, emotional, they call it emotional homeostasis, which sounds like some cooking, but anyway, attend to and remember positive versus negative information better than younger adults. Did you hear the word remember in there? We remember essential information, even though I still forgot where to stand, and all right.
We're not very good at following directions, apparently.
We're horrible at following directions, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We tend to be a little more rebellious at this age. Show a significant information processing bias toward the positive, okay? We tend to be more positive. We outperform younger adults in maintaining emotional stability. I was a little surprised about a couple of these. They're really hard to study. I mean, this isn't like studying DNA or something. You can't be absolutely clear about things. They just give a lot of tests and social experiments and things and various ways of testing these things. But they're fairly consistent across lots of 20 or 30 studies. So I say we have superpowers. We have superpowers for sure. And since we have superpowers, we have the ability to be of assistance to people, other seniors, little kids, just about anybody who comes in our path. Oh, I know what's going to be. All right. What's happening is
Seems we're technically deficient.
I am calm and serene. I am unmoved. I care only about what's best for you and for me. Damn it. No. What you would see there, and what I saw every time I rehearsed this, was a series of, it goes just start over. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Multiple ways of solving a problem. When someone needs help and says something to you, non-verbally or verbally, you are probably going to give a response. I say there are 5 possible types of response you can give. Some of them are not so helpful. They tend to be the ones we use out of habit. And some of them, one of them is pretty good sometimes, and one of them is always excellent and really helpful. Okay. So I want to show that to you and see what you think. I think because you have all these superpowers, you'll understand what I'm saying. Judging. That's where somebody says to you, I lost my wallet. Well, you should have a chain on your wallet the way I do. What's wrong with you? I mean, your wallet's important. Don't you know that? Or maybe something, a judgment in a good way. Oh, well, that's good. You probably have too much attachment to material things, and that will just lower your whatever. Right? Not very helpful, usually. Occasionally it can be. Occasionally it's very important, but usually not. Teaching. That's where I think you need information, and I can give you information. Well, usually I heard you say Anthony, and also you probably ought to go over all the places you've been since the last time you saw your wallet, blah, blah, blah. I'm upset about losing my wallet. I know all that stuff, okay? So teaching typically isn't helpful, can be. We're going to come back to empathy and support. Talk about asking. Where did you lose it? Where was the last time you saw it, right? Okay. And then go to support. Oh, man. Here's a hug or something. Something supportive, something kind like. Or here, you can use my wallet. Or something like that. Do that for me, please. And then empathy. We're going to be talking mostly about empathy now, because that's the best way to apply and use your superpowers. But short form, letting the other person know in language that he or she understands and appreciates, that you get it. You really get it. It's not sympathy. It's not sympathy goes with support. Empathy goes with deep connection. Big difference. See if this works here. Then I can move around. Yay. Okay. All of them are helpful. One is a superpower, that is empathy. Would you do me a favor? You have tablets, little book with tablets in front of you. This is just for later. Would you mind writing judge, ask, teach, support, empathy on your tablet? Someone? Is that good with me? Okay, come on. All right, here we go. The teacher yelled at me. The teacher yelled at me today. And I'm mad too. All right. So let's go through these. The judge. Okay. You decide, you make a decision that the person needs to know what's right and wrong, good or bad, what they should do or not do, and how they should or should not feel. This includes you shouldn't feel bad, or you should feel good. But this is a better example. Well, obviously you did something wrong.
No TV for you.
Understandable in a young busy mom. It's less likely a grandparent would say that. For the reasons above. Or you can question, like, what you really need to do is give me information. Even though you're having a feeling response. So there, can you see in the lower right-hand corner, the little fishy? See the hook? Question marks are shaped like hooks for a reason. They're shaped like hooks because the question mark says, do not talk about what you want to talk about. Talk about what I want to hear about. It can be useful. That's the question. Isn't that the question? Isn't that the question that a busy parent will, oh, what did you do? All kinds of assumptions there, all kinds of baggage there. When the kid is obviously upset, well, what did you do? And then teaching. You decide what the person needs most of all is information that you have and they don't have. That can be useful. But remember, this situation is a feeling situation. In almost every case of helping, feelings are more important than thoughts. All right. Well, you know, there's a lot of kids to handle, and even teachers get stressed. And kids need to remember that it's a shared environment. Well, that's, yeah, us. So the little kid is saying, yeah, so the teacher yelled at me. You don't get it. Support. Support is really good sometimes. I had a bunch of surgeries a few years ago. And every time the surgeon would come, visit the anesthesiologist, and they'd say, I'm really going to take good care of you, blah, 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 tap my whatever shoulder. And then the surgeon would come in and grab my foot and say, we're really going to take good care of you. And I believed it, and I believed they were, and it was a very supportive thing to say. No empathy, particularly. You know, they weren't really thinking. But they wanted to know that they were going to do a good job, do the best, and so on. They said it's not a bad thing. But if you see the picture up there, it is reaching, and saying, I'm fine, and you're not. So, here, let me put my arm around you. That's not a bad thing. Lovely thing sometimes. Or here, everything's going to be okay. Relax. All is well. And we're here for you. And yeah. And we're not really there. We're kind of where we are, but we're saying, okay, I can lift you up a little bit to this high place, which I know. This is tricky. This one's a little bit tricky. Okay, and then we come. The last one, what I say is, oops. Okay, so the response to, the teacher yelled at me, is, oh baby, I'm so sorry, here's a hug, everything's okay. I see that as a more classical grandparent response than, well, you must have done something, no television. But the top superpower is empathy. Empathy. Everybody who learns to do psychotherapy learns about this until your head spins and you float away. It's absolutely essential sine qua non for any of the hundreds of types of psychotherapy is to learn it, do it, sustain it with unconditional positive regard, with genuineness, with concreteness, and a little love. Empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. So that's it.
You're missing the last one, Dave.
Hello. Multiple solutions. Empathy does not start by deciding what you need. Empathy does not start by deciding what the person needs. It starts by connection, seeing, I see you clearly. Right now, my only agenda is to let you know, in language that you can understand, that I understand and appreciate what's going on inside of you right now. I get it. I get you. It's the capacity to think and feel oneself into the inner life of another person. Not if this is making sense? Good. Okay. The teacher yelled at me today. Here's some empathic responses. These are hard to do because it's a tone of voice. Does this one say, oh, really? Maybe that's enough. Or maybe even a nod in a facial expression. Or maybe you identify the feeling you're hearing. Oh, it made you sad and angry. Or, wow, that must have been really upsetting for you. Bothered you a lot. If you want information from the child on what they did, that's how to get it. As soon as you've established that trust, that empathy, that connection, holding that space so the child can talk, the child will say, yeah, all I did was tell you what it was. And then she looked at me and then this happened. You will get your answer there, not by asking, what did you do? Nothing. I didn't do it. And this isn't just parenting. This is the most important slide. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. By the way, I will mail this PowerPoint to anyone who asks for it. So if you can't read the words or and you want to remember it, I'd be happy to send the PowerPoint out. I'll show you where you can email right at the end. Empathy is about finding echoes of yourself. About finding echoes of another person in yourself. All right. You got those 5 things lined up on your paper? Okay. Let's practice. If the kid said, the teacher yelled at me today, and I said, well, what can we learn from this situation? Which one of these is it? Judge, ask, teach, support, empathy? Teach. Yep, that's correct. That's correct. Okay. Here's one, more relevant. I tested positive for COVID.
Where's your mask?
Well, how do you think you caught it? What's that one? How did you think you caught it?
Yes.
This is where I need information from you. This is asking. Okay, good. Good. What if I tested positive for COVID? Oh, anything we can do to help? Support, that's correct, absolutely, support. Okay, I tested positive for COVID. Well, there's a new medication combination out. You should ask your doctor about it. It's got a should, but it's really giving information. Okay, like that. Okay, so I have a splitting headache. Who wants to give a judgmental response? Just as an example. Yeah, I have a splitting headache. Sorry? Okay, you drank? That's because you drank too much last night. What kind of response is that?
Judgmental.
Yeah, probably. probably, could be instructive, could be teaching, but yeah, probably judgmental. How about, oh, let me get you an aspirin. Sorry, let me get you a paracetamol. Yeah, exactly. You are a brilliant student. Yeah. That is support. That is support. Okay, let's see. Politics is driving me crazy. Let's give me a judgmental one.
Turn off the TV.
Digital detoxification.
Turn off the TV sounds more like
Teaching.
teaching. Good. They can overlap. Okay, what would be a good questioning one and asking one? Politics is driving me crazy.
So
Why are you watching? Yeah. Good question. Why are you watching is kind of a judgmental flavor to it also. But it's an ask and a judgment. And it could be teaching too. So it's kind of tone of voice in the relationship. But yeah.
how do you have empathy for that?
Oh, let's do support. Politics is driving me crazy. Support.
It'll be boring in December.
Sit down, honey, I'll make you brandy Manhattan. That's supportive. Okay? Make sense? Like, I'm fine. But look, sounds like you need a cocktail. You need to sit down and relax, right? You get this, that's support, but not empathy? Okay? Politics is driving me crazy. What would be an empathic response?
Me too, let's have a beer.
I hear you, me too.
I hear you, me too. Kind of on the border between support and empathy. Pretty darn good. Yeah. All right. I'm getting a motorcycle and I don't care. By the way, I've heard all of these with the past couple of weeks. I'm getting a motorcycle and I don't care. I'm old enough and I've got the money. That's not the issue. You want to be judgmental? I would want to be judgmental myself with that. That would be my first impulse. Because I know the statistics for traffic around here. Yes, but I used to drive a big motorcycle for a long time. But not yet. What if I said, not a rice burner. You know what a rice burner is? It's a kind of Orientalist slight slur against anything but a Harley Davidson. In other words, a motorcycle made in Japan. Hey, Mom and Dad. This is on the phone. Hey, Mom and Dad in Thailand. Guess what? We're having a baby. Okay, let's go through them. Has anybody gotten that call? Not yet.
Not yet.
They're working on it. All right. So, judgmental.
You know what caused it?
Right?
You know what caused it?
Do you know what caused it? Could be. You know what caused it? Good. I kind of think that's not sure. How did you do it? All right. That sounds pretty ASCII. Oh. you shouldn't be pregnant, and you wouldn't be pregnant if you took my advice. All right, I got it. Are you getting kind of the superiority of empathy if you're in a relationship and you want to make a loving connection or even a helping connection? That it's the most powerful? And by the way, quickest to get to a helping place. Because you cut through the rest of this stuff. Most people have the rest of it in order, except sometimes support. You know, if you're a first responder, yeah, that's a place. You know, I've been watching Chicago Fire. It's really good series, I didn't know. And every episode, something horrible happens in the firefighters' rescue, and I listen to them, and they're all making me supportive responses. And some of them have empathy too, but the rescue people say, "We got you. We're going to get you out of this. Everything's going to be okay." Blah, blah, blah. That's what I want to hear if I'm trapped under the building. Okay. I'm not getting what we're saying. Somebody's glaring at me right now. Your words can help. I know you already saw this, but this is the most important slide. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. It's Robert Frost. We understand this. The afternoon knows, but the morning never suspected. Okay, so can you read the bottom line, which is my email address? DavidMcPhD@gmail.com.